Hassan Michael, a fellow Cardano ambassador as well as the CEO of dApp 360 Workforce, joins me to talk about a program that he's put together in conjunction with Emurgo that will take any full stack developer that is thinking about pivoting their career and turn them into a blockchain developer on Cardano. So if you're ever wanting to move careers and you want to really get into the blockchain space but didn't know how and wanted that full holistic overview and everything that you need to know from the actual building, the dApps, the optimization and scaling of it all, this is perfect. He goes through all those different aspects, what to expect as a participant in this program, as well as how to actually enroll through it as well, and how it all came about. It's quite an interesting little backstory there. So if you really like this type of content and you are looking at a job in the crypto space, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click on the notification bell. I have a lot more content around that for you. But let's get into this interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
I have Hassan Michael joining me on this episode to talk a little bit about the work that he's doing, one in the Cardano community, but then also with Emurgo as well. And I saw this pop up and I thought, hey, this had to get a little bit of a highlight so that more people can see it, get more visibility, and potentially participate in this course that you've put together. Hassan, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Pete. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about yourself first so the listeners can know a little bit about you and how you can contribute to the Cardano ecosystem.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Hassan Michael, and I've been in the space specifically with Cardano since 2017, and I'm based out of South Florida. And since 2017, I've found Cardano to be the blockchain of choice for me because of the rigor, because of the moral compass of the team behind it, and I've dedicated myself to advancing that ecosystem because I believe in it. And to that end, basically, I have been a community organizer, providing content, educational content. I've ran a stake pool in the ITN, one of the first stake pool out there. Ran a stake pool in mainnet, but I no longer run that. And I've been responsible for the community in South Florida growing from just 2 members to about now 1,200 members. And during the course of the last, I would say 5 years, basically we're able to have several meetups. One of them including having Charles down here, which had about right around 500 to 600 people attend. Ooh. And we just had our latest meetup, this time without Charles, which included about 150 people, and several businesses and NFT projects have pivoted to Cardano and Ethereum because of our meetup down in South Florida.
That is amazing. I did see the photos from that as well, and I was like pretty jealous. I felt like I was missing out. There was a lot of stuff happening in Florida that week. You had like the Miami crypto. Was it Miami crypto or some big Bitcoin thing?
Bitcoin 2022. So yeah, specifically Miami, I think our mayor Francis Suarez, he's been really on a roll, and his mission right now is to make the Miami or South Florida area the crypto capital of the world. So we've had several conferences, Bitcoin 2022, North American Bitcoin conferences, but most importantly, we've had the first Cardano event. Summit was over here in South Florida. So Cardano also have a big role down here.
That is so cool to see, and it's so good that Florida there is trying to be that big hub, and the community is growing around it too. So that's absolutely awesome. And 1,200 members.
Yeah. It's a huge undertaking because when we first started, we tell the story where we started with 2 guys in the coffee shop, and just trying to spread knowledge, shared knowledge of what we knew about the Cardano ecosystem and how excited we are. And over time, people started to get the message locally. And during the pandemic, we started to host some Zoom meetings. And I think that brought in a little bit more members. But we tried to cater to the local, when I say local, I mean the entire Florida area, not just South Florida, to the local members, right? because one of the goals of our mission is to bring people in contact with one another and have them network. And you'll be surprised, some of your biggest influencers actually met at my event, network with one another, and created new businesses. And I'm dying to give names out, but for privacy reasons, I won't. Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. I have to find, here in Brisbane, Australia as well, with the meetups that we have, you meet people, you learn that, someone's building a cool DeFi project, and you meet a designer there or a UX person. You combine and some amazing things happen. So I am really big on meetups as well. It's really big key thing. I'm so glad the pandemic is easing as well. So we're seeing more of these meetups come back.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, I think I'll be heading over to CNFT Con and Rare Bloom in October as well. So if you happen to be there,
we'll be there. Actually, we the meetup has actually produced a new organization. I know we're not talking about that, but I'd like to talk about that just for a brief moment. Called the Cardano Solution. Again, it's the Cardano Solution, and that nonprofit is an offshoot of the meetup. Because we've grown so fast and we needed some kind of entity to start catering to our members. And the Cardano Solution is actually that entity that's going to be working with businesses, working with local members, trying to network, trying to integrate new businesses, business development for the Cardano ecosystem. And we're going to be at the Rare Bloom also. We were able to reserve a booth. And surprisingly, it doesn't hurt that Big Pay, one of the sponsors of that, organizers of that event, is right down here in Florida. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, good things are happening.
Very, very cool. It's amazing to see this ecosystem grow. And some of the other contributions that you've been doing is this course that you've been working on with Emurgo. And I do coursework as well, and I know how much time and effort it takes. So can you go through what this course is and give everyone a little bit of an overview?
Yeah, certainly. First of all, I won't call it a course. I'm not trying to step on your toe. It's more like a program, right? And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But just a little backstory about me. I'm a 14 years experienced software developer. I've been developing software since right around 2004. Work with several different programming languages, and I work as a full stack developer over the course of this 14 year, going on 15 years now. And as a full stack developer, you get to work with front end, back end, middle tier, and just about everything in between, right? So when I started to evaluate the Cardano blockchain from a software developer perspective, I fell in love with it, as I mentioned earlier. And when Plutus came into play, I realized that developers needed more training, right? We have the Plutus Pioneer program, but it was not sufficient enough in terms of what it needed to cover for a full stack developer. It focused mostly on smart contracts and the Plutus application backend and Plutus script. And when I look at the Emurgo program, it was not comprehensive enough either. So falling back on my software development experience, I was able to go back and say, okay, maybe we need to craft a curriculum where things are more comprehensive, mainly from a full stack perspective, where we'll find a way to integrate the front end, we'll find a way to integrate the back end, we'll find a way to integrate the middle tier. And in addition to that, where developers can also understand and make decisions as to what part of the application goes on chain and what parts of the application actually stay off chain, given the limitations of the blockchain. But more importantly, one thing that led to this program is three things that I realized are prevalent, three prevalent problems in the blockchain decentralized application development space. And one is there's a lot of asset loss due to coding vulnerability. So I wanted my program to tackle that. Two is you have scalability, where users experience degrade the more users come into an application, a decentralized application. And 3 is optimization, wherein as the application starts to grow bigger, it consumes more resources, infrastructure resources, whether it's memory or is CPU speed, or it's just more servers or more node needed to have that application running. So these were some of the things we looked at and work alongside Emurgo to make sure we craft that into our program. Now, Pete, this one thing that makes our program unique, right? Right now, we are the only program, and I keep calling it a program because it's just not a course. And yeah, why it's just not a course? We are the only program that actually couple a full stack, what I consider a full stack training, specifically for Cardano dApp developers, with landing these developers a job on an actual decentralized application project. Right. So we couple those 2 things, whereas you're in training, and upon completing the training, we try to land you a job. So we do that work for you. And from the employer perspective, which we'll get into later, it offers a lot of benefits.
That's huge.
Hope I didn't say too much over there.
It is huge. That's really amazing. So you go through the program, you learn all the aspects that you need to learn, and then land yourself a job. And there is no shortage of jobs at the moment. Like Haskell devs and full stack devs for blockchain are in high demand.
Oh yeah, no, you're extremely right. As a matter of fact, as part of the business research that I did in trying to craft this program, one thing we found out that developers, specifically blockchain developers, number one, are paid on par with AI developers, so they are earning some of the highest salary out there currently, blockchain developers. And the reason for that high salary, we also found out in this report, which is Blockchain 2021 Employers Report. And if anybody needs information, I can forward that to you. But in that report, we found out that blockchain growth, the demand growth for developers is about 300 to 500% annually, and it keeps growing. So the demand is extremely high. Right now to be able to, yeah.
Absolutely not surprised at that. So how are you coupling in the employment side of things then? So how you're networking with them, you're building up a database of companies that need employees. How are you doing that?
So our strategy, first of all, is to run this pilot program we're having with Emurgo. And basically, we try to put students, I won't call them students because these are some experienced developers. They just upskill in their skill set to dApp development. We try to find experienced developers, given the fact that Haskell is demanding and blockchain interdisciplinary nature requires somewhat of an advanced developer or somebody with some developer experience. So we find these guys, we put them through an aptitude test, we put them through a preliminary interview, and if they prove themselves capable, we go ahead and put them in a 4 months program, right? And this 4 months program basically covers a comprehensive development of decentralized application. You look at a little bit of architecting decentralized application. You look at integrating Pluto's backend. You look at UI and the whole gambit, including security, optimization, scalability, and all of that. So while they are in this 4 months program, basically we pivot to employers and say, hey, when I say employers, I mean projects. We pivot to projects and say, we got this group of developers that are currently in the program. And this is something that is unique to us also. If these projects are interested, they can even give us generic project of what they are working on, and we can have these talent currently in the program work on their project, almost like an internship, but also as project work, as coursework, just to prove their competence and their proficiency. Because that's one thing our program primes itself on. That is proficiency and competence. And to even prove that to employers, each of our developers in the program will have a public GitHub repo that employers can go take a look at and see what these guys working on. So that's one way we try to bridge that divide of connecting the employers and the talent. And I think for employers, it takes the guesswork out of who you're hiring for your project, because you see what they're working on, you know what they're working on, and you have some kind of GitHub repo where you can see life work going on.
Yeah, as an employer, I'd find that really hard, especially if you don't have like a new project that's starting up and they're looking for a Haskell dev or a Cardano dev in general. It's hard for them to validate the developer's experience, especially when they haven't built any projects. So I think this approach is fantastic. And
no. You say something that's extremely important. Is that it's hard to validate experience. And one reason it's hard to validate experience is because Alonzo just came out in September. So there's not anybody currently on the face of the planet who would tell you they got 2-3 years of experience working with Alonzo, because it wasn't in existence back then. So we are starting from a point where basically we have to learn, but then there's no way to gauge how far along somebody is. And our program gave you that opportunity to actually see developers do and execute exactly what they're going to be doing for you. So.
Very, very cool. Have you had much interest around this? I know you put a tweet out and you said you got quite a few people coming in to trial the program. Like how much of like that lead generation form where people filling in their details, like how many people like filled in?
So this is one place where I love the Cardano community, because I had problems actually getting some kind of, what do you call it, traction via LinkedIn and some other job boards. So I decided just to come back to the community and put up a tweet. And I think you saw that tweet too. And I had an overwhelming response from the community. We had people retweeting and people making comments and things of that sort. And by the end of the day, we had about 20 people that actually completed the form. And in about two days later, we had 30 people. And the thing is that we only, as part of this pilot program, we can only accommodate 40 enrollees, and 40 enrollees is the goal, and we had 32. So there's extreme, we got extreme traction, I'll call it that.
Yeah.
And we've been working with them. So there is a need for it, if that's your question. And people are responding, because I think even developers out there are looking for something a little bit more comprehensive. I interview a candidate who say he doesn't like the piecemeal learning. He wants something more structured, more organized, and more comprehensive. And that's what our program offers.
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff you can ask people on Discord or Google search a particular thing, but you won't get exposed to a particular security part that you may need to be aware of when you're developing these things, and you might completely forget about it.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things you can do, and I mentioned things were done in piecemeal. So, for example, one thing developers want is not to just learn about Fluid's application backend and writing smart contracts, but they also want to learn about Haskell. Because Haskell is a key programming language for the Cardano ecosystem. And what you don't want is being able to write a smart contract, but then writing Haskell where you have security loopholes. I know Haskell is assured software, but developers can still find a way to mess it up. I'll tell you that. I'm a developer, so I can tell you that. So our program kind of combine all of that in one stretch. So those are things you just can learn from watching a video online. You need people to answer unique questions that you might have, specifically to you, the developers, areas where you have weaknesses or deficiencies, and those can be addressed. And that's one reason our class have a very limited size of 40 people. So instructors can pay attention to people's unique deficiencies as they go along.
So this program's a global one. You'll be able to. I'm assuming it's over video, like a Zoom conference that happens every other day or something. Run me through how the experience of actually participating in the program would look like.
So our program is an intensive one. First of all, it is global. It's open to everybody wherever you are, so long you have reliable internet and reliable PC. Basically, how the program starts is, as I mentioned earlier, we do a preliminary interview, we do an aptitude test, and if you enroll in the program, you have to do 2 hours a day for 5 days a week, right?
Yeah.
And in addition to that 10 hours that you're doing for live lectures, you also have to do anywhere between 10 to 15 hours of actual homework project, hands-on project. So the 2 hours a day live lecture is real time. You can log in via, your porter, watch instructors give live lectures, ask questions during that time. However, we also introduce a flexibility into that program because some people, for example, might be on the other side of the world, and we have timing conflicts. So for any reason, if students miss the live lecture, they also have a video recording of the actual live lecture, which they can watch at any time. Now, having said that, we still ask students as they go through the program to put in 2 hours a day because every other day you have 2 hours, and it's been proven somewhere beyond 3 hours, your retention level drops. So we ask you put in the 2 hours every day, regardless of whether you're going to a live lecture or not. And then you do the homework assignment. And then we at dApp 360 Workforce actually get assessment on a weekly basis of enrollee performance to help them succeed in the program. So we go through that for a 4 month period covering different portion of the curriculum, whether it's Haskell, is Cardano, is Plutus, or just security or scalability.
Wow. Okay. So it's quite intensive. It's not something you can do on the side, in your spare time. It's something that you do need to concentrate essentially full time on.
Oh, yeah. So I think one of the questions we ran into as we took in new enrollee was, can I do this in my spare time, or is this for hobbies? And I would make it very clear, this program is for people who want to upskill the career, or they want to pivot to that development as a professional career. It's not for hobbies because it is extremely demanding. And if you were to come as a hobbyist, you will spend a lot more time and not reap the necessary reward because you're not actively looking for a job or you're not actively developing. This is a program for professionals. Gotcha.
Okay. Now, it does sound like a very serious program. I'm assuming there's a cost to this. Is there a cost at the moment during this phase?
There is a cost. And as I said earlier, it's a pilot program. And in all transparency, I don't have a problem giving a business model because that's where our cost is tied to. So we do on the front end have to pay Emurgo Academy for this program because our program is unique to us. Emurgo, for legal reasons, cannot offer this program through their website or through their training program. So you can only get our program through dApp 360 Workforce. So we do have to pay them in that collaboration. But to the talent of people enrolling in the program, it is free. We offer it free of charge. If you are qualified, you get to participate during that 4 months. But it's free based on certain conditions, right? Those entering the program, one, we ask that you have the time commitment. Two, that you don't drop out because it's a 4 month long program. And this is where our business model comes in for all those who are curious, is that we make money on the recruiting fees, access or charge to employers, not on the talent. We do not charge talent anything. We do not take part of your salary, none of that. Basically, we believe in the program so much. We believe there's a demand for this. And we also want to contribute professional and competent talent to the Cardano ecosystem. So we pay upfront 100% and students go through this program. It's possible they might come out and we can land them a job, but they have had a world-class education in being a dApp developer. So it's absolutely free to the talent as of now.
Hassan, I absolutely love that approach. It like some of these courses that come out or programs, they cost thousands and thousands of dollars to do, right? And for someone in the Philippines or in Vietnam, they can't afford that. That's half a year's salary for them to do a course to upskill. But they are very talented and they could possibly do the job. Yeah.
So real quick before I forget, it's great that you mentioned that people in Vietnam or some part of the world may not be able to afford it. And just a quick backstory. This program was started out of my need to give back to people in Africa specifically. So originally I'm from Liberia, West Africa. You hear a little bit of an accent there. And we try to give back. And if you are in tune with the Cardano ecosystem, you hear of a company, not company, but a community called ABCD. African Blockchain Center for Developers. So we tried to run this program with ABCD, and we realized that we have to run it as a charity, not charity, but as a free program. And we were able to work with Emurgo in that program and actually work with Catalyst to get our first funding with ABCD, put some students through the Emurgo program, and actually get them hired worldwide. So from that program, we got this business model that says, so we can have people from all around the world who really can't afford this going through this program and earning themselves a decent living on the global stage. And from that came the aha moment that motivated me to say, you know what, if you can't afford it, trusting somebody, pay upfront, give them the necessary training. And I think employers recognizing that proficiency can reward the students for the hard work. So that's why we're starting this program off free to talent.
Very cool. And of course, it's in your best interest in the company to train the talent to the level that the employers need so you can place them in the jobs, because that's the only way that you'll generate revenue from the business through the recruitment fees. So it's a very, very good model because you ensure the students will get through. You're filtering them, you're making sure that they can get through so that you can push them through to the particular employees that come out at the end. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, that's quite correct. And here's why it's important, because I've seen some projects on Twitter, Cardano projects, where basically they are having to pay for interns and then do the training. So it becomes much more important that you have an organization that specifically cater to projects where we do the actual training for you according to what you want. You can bring in your project, a generic project, and say, hey, can these candidates or these enrollees work on that project? And over the 4 months period, we can come back and see how they perform. And if they did well, we'll just go ahead and have them directly into our program. So what it does for the employers is that it takes the guesswork out of who you are hiring, right? Because you are traveling along with these candidates right through the training process all along. So
very, very cool. Very well done. I absolutely love this. Now, for anyone else that wants to join in, so it sounds like you're pretty much almost fully booked out for this intake. But if people were interested to join the program, how can they contact you? Where do they go to find out more information?
So I think if you need more information, the first place to start would be our website, dApp360.io, DAPP360.io. And there, if you're looking specifically for the Cardano program, you go to Launchpad, and under the Launchpad menu, you can click on the pre-screening form if you want to apply. And if you just want to take a look at the curriculum, the Cardano curriculum, under the same Launchpad menu, you can click on Cardano, and you will have access to that entire menu and maybe do a comparison on how our curriculum is different from everything's out there. We have that right there. Right now, we have few spaces left. We have maybe about I would say about 10 spaces left. We stay accepting application, pre-screening application. You can complete on the website, and we will get that information and follow up with you. But our next cohort starts in May 2nd, which is just around, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And we still accepting applications.
All right, Hassan, absolutely love everything about this. I love what you're doing and contributing to the Cardano ecosystem and everything in the South Florida area, as well as this program that you've put together and everything around it, the business model, the giving back and everything that you're doing with that. So absolutely fantastic, Hassan. And it's been a pleasure learning more about you and the ecosystem you're building there.
I appreciate you having me on, Pete. And I also appreciate what you do for the community, even giving projects like ours more exposure. And that's one thing I love the Cardano ecosystem, because you have projects that have a common goal, work, may be competitive against one another, but we always work together for the ecosystem advancement. So thank you for all your contributions as well.
And thank you so much, Hassan, for everything that you do in the Cardano ecosystem. All those meetups are crucial for networking and finding more people into this industry, getting jobs as well. Meetups are fantastic for that. And I highly encourage you to look up a meetup in your local area and try to attend one of them. It's a really key part of the whole networking ecosystem, finding jobs, etc., etc. Now, if you're interested in finding out more about the program, check out the links below. I'll put everything there for you so you can find out exactly how to participate, how to enroll, and go through that first filtering process and putting in your application for it. Now, I absolutely love this backstory, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of amazing people going through this program, and I'll hear more amazing stories about the jobs that they're doing, the dApps that they're creating, and that thriving ecosystem at the end of it as well. So I'm really looking forward to that and seeing what kind of impact it's had for a lot of people that have gone through it. Now, if you really enjoy this type of content, if you're looking for a job, looking to pivot your career in the Cardano ecosystem and become a developer in the space, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click on the notification bell, and you hear more great Cardano content and some really cool tips and people in the industry to give you an idea of how you can join this space, get a job in the crypto space. All right, see you in the next video.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.